I've always said that my intention for the podcast is to be vulnerable about things that I've been struggling with and possible tools that's helped me get through that. I think it's important for me to show the whole journey on this like self-improvement thing that I'm continually on, and which this podcast really is about. Obviously, there is me interviewing other people, but a lot of it is around self-reflection and betterment. So I heard it was Chris Williamson, the podcaster, recently talk about his podcast as like a body of work, and he said he wanted to be able to look back on it and be proud, have a body of work that he'd be proud of. And so I've stolen it because I was like, yeah, that's like a really nice reminder of why you are producing the content that you are. I feel like this is something that a lot of people will struggle with, and certainly I'm going to talk about both anxious and avoidant and a little bit of secure attachment, but mainly it's going to be focusing on anxiously attached as a guy. And there will be some crossover, but that is my perspective. I hope this is helpful. I think it will be. I've put quite a lot of prep into this and really put together all my thoughts, and I feel like there is some novel insights and ideas that you can hopefully apply and make you feel better about your own attachment style. We're going to talk about attachment theory. We'll go into a little bit of the history, what it actually is, the initial experiment, how it came about, why the anxiously attached can become avoidant, the addictive qualities of a anxious spiral, the importance of space and recognizing that you've deployed enough coping strategies, how to act without fear, perceived cost of behavior change, and a training analogy. You love a training analogy? Well, I do. I hope you do. You're in the wrong fucking place. Societal tensions around male expression and control. The similarities with rescue dogs, loving your attachment style, and tools for coping with a anxious attachment style. So regular listeners of the show will likely have an understanding of what attachment theory is. If not, you can also go back to after you've watched this, I'll put links into my conversations with Jessica De Silva. She's an attachment theory expert and is really, really knowledgeable on the space. We've had some really good chats. Also, I went on her podcast. It must have been like 18 months ago, maybe now. And that was really popular. So she did it it was a male's perspective of having an anxious attachment style. And she said like a lot of guys don't open up about it. So it was very unique. And some of you come along and followed me after that and stuff. So hello if you're watching. And yeah, so we're going to talk a lot about that side of things and men talking and stuff, and how navigating the tension between not being controlling and stuff. But let's get into the attachment theory, because I know I keep saying that we're going to do it. So originally, the experiment was called the Strange Situation, and it was conducted by Mary Ainsworth in the 1970s. So they took infants between the ages of 12 and 18 months. And what happened is the mother and the baby came into the room. The baby was able to play while the mother was present. Then they introduced a stranger in the room. The mother leaves the room. I think it was around 3 minutes, something like that. The mother returns. The stranger leaves. And then the mother leaves again, so the baby is completely alone. Stranger returns, and then mother returns again. And basically what they were doing is observing how the baby reacted to the mother leaving, and then how the baby reacted to her returning. And it said that this is the key moment. they basically find that secure attachment amounted to around 60 to 65% of the participants. And essentially, the baby's upset when the mum left, was comforted quickly on her return. The avoidant, which was about 20%, they didn't show much stress when mum left, ignored or avoided her in return. Just don't come close to me, the walls are up. And then you had about 10 to 15% is the anxious or ambivalent, who were very distressed when mum left, and then clingy when she returned, but also like a little bit angry. And then you also have like about 5 to 10% is the disorganized attachment, which there's no clear pattern, often fearful, and that's usually due to like really deep-seated trauma, from physical or psychological abuse. So that's like a total other thing. So we're not going to really talk about that element today. It's mainly going to be on the anxious and a little bit of the avoidant. The What they concluded from this experiment is that, and they've tested this out over time, is these attachment styles are set in infancy, and then what happens as we get older is, I think probably, this is my thoughts, is probably you can maybe go, if you are a little bit anxious when you're younger, maybe you can get slightly more secure. But what tends to happen is it gets worse if it's reinforced. So something might happen to you at school where you're cheated on or something, and then that is reinforced your belief around the world that you're going to be abandoned, etc., and that love is inconsistent. But essentially, what they're saying here is that it's set so early in life, and it's very hard to get away from it. So those people who would argue that, oh, it's just an excuse for people to be anxious or controlling stuff, you should look at this with compassion, based on this. These scientific studies, which have been tested over and over again. There's lots of other studies. I've been looking into it, and it seems pretty robust. So that's an overview on what attachment theory is. Genes do obviously will play a role, because there's a conversation there on, is it not just genes? But they've shown that environment really is key. And essentially, does it really matter? Like if you are the way you are. But yeah, I will cite some links to those studies. I thought we would start as well, after get that little bit of a background of what attachment theory is on a personal example, how it's shown up for me in my life, and how it might have anxious attachment might show for a lot of people, which is, for guys or girls, I guess, it's jealousy. It's going, and there are some other like emotions in there, but typically it's jealousy is like the symptom, but underneath it is just, it's anxious attachment, it's anxiety, it's I'm going to be abandoned, I'm I'm hyper alert as to any dangers that might happen. And for me, it's like, very difficult to talk about it, because you don't want to come across ever as controlling or like super needy. I remember one of my previous relationships, and my partner had been out at a wedding all day, all night, whatever. And even though I trusted her, um, that was really difficult for me. I think maybe there's some other things going on where we're like, oh, why wasn't I invited to the wedding? Like, why wasn't there a plus one? So all of a sudden you're kind of like, oh, I'm not loved. I'm not, I'm not important. And this seems to be a pattern for me, which is like, I will struggle internally during the thing. So like that, basically that entire day is just like hell, constant. I can feel it now. I can feel it now in my stomach. Just this constant fear. And then I would just find a way to like just distract myself somehow. I remember like thinking, oh, I'll like watch this film. Like I'd always love watching films, and if you've been in a long-term relationship for a while, you'll know it's quite nice having some time on your own. But I just couldn't enjoy it. I remember watching this film, just couldn't focus. Anyways, she eventually came back, and we were chatting or whatever, and I was like, oh, I had a nice time, and trying to be like, and like meanwhile I'm still like I've got this high alert going on, and it's weird. We talk about like the response afterwards, and this seems to be a trigger for me. Not only is the duration of the situation like really difficult, but it's what happens after. And like after reading into like this experiment, like maybe there is some like it's similarities to be drawn to be like the aftermath, because what are these patterns that are like being reinforced or reminded of like after the fact. So get back to the point, Jason. I remember saying to her, I was like, do you know, I was like, I don't want to be like really selfish, or I can't remember exactly what I said. I literally can't remember any of it, but it was along these lines. But like, I've had a really tough day, and I've had this like awful feeling in my stomach of like, I don't know what it is, like just feeling like really uneasy. And my partner at the time was just kind of just basically flew off the handle and um, was like something around like being jealous or jealous prick or whatever, and that's what like guys get like tarred with in these situations. Or you're just a jealous prick, because a lot of guys will just be like, "Oh, fucking hell, who have you been speaking to?" and stuff like that, and that's often how it comes across, which is like dominance, shouting and aggression, stuff like that. But that's, again, that's not the thing. That's the symptom of the thing. That's the when you go why, and trace it back, it's this insecurity, it's this fear of abandonment and wanting to be loved. And I taught on Jessica De Silva's podcast about this, and like saying that beforehand, I just felt like I was a jealous prick, inverted commas, and then I started to understand attachment theory. But then there are like this other side of things where we've got, the being a masculine man, being, you know, not bothering your partner with all of the like struggles and stuff, like it's okay to be vulnerable but not too vulnerable, because like if you show like too much, they're going to get the ick, they're not going to see you as like masculine or anything like that. And it's like what society says versus what women actually want seems to me to be different things. So fighting that tension between being open with your emotions, um, but not being absolutely cray cray and overly controlling stuff is the challenge. And it's all of life is all about this, trying to find the middle road, as they would say in Buddhism, like finding the balance. Something I realized, like sometimes I think balance is like this, right? Balance is not like this. Like balance is literally balance, right? It's like one side and then come back, and then kind of it will never, there will be never like there's no such thing as actual true balance. There's just varying balance, which is probably the definition of balance, but I just need to remind myself of that, so bear with me. um and I think this about attachment styles as well. Jessica De Silva actually said to me, she said she believes there's no such thing as secure. You fall on one side and maybe secure or a little bit avoidant. So again, it's this balance thing. Balance is a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It might be one way, leaning one way at one point, and then you might go the other way. But it's finding making sure you're not doing it too much. I do think as well that modern technology makes these things much harder as well, because, if your partner was going on a night out and you would see them when they got in, that would be it. Like, there's no phone calls, there's no texting, there's no Instagram stories, there's the WhatsApp one where they're like the last seen at this time of day. That's like the one that's quite triggering. I found myself in those situations where, like, I've not been in touch with the person, and I'll open up WhatsApp. Not when I'm like, not because I'm like, oh, I'm trying to see where they're at, but if I just want to send them a message, I will like open it up and I will like squint my eyes and close so that I can't see the bit where it says last seen at this time, because it's like, why are you telling me that? Like, if you're an anxious person and then you're thinking, oh, well, she was last active 1 hour ago but didn't message me, then it's like, oh, I'm not important. So, and I remember this happening in a relationship, and girlfriend been on a night out, sent me a few messages or whatever, and I can't remember what I'd said. I was just chatting to her, and then it become like this thing within the relationship as well, of like a summary of like when things aren't actually as you think they might have been. Wait for it. Not that it's exciting, but just bear with me. So, my partner at the time texted me back saying, 1% bibs, BBZ, 1% bibs, which was basically, I've got no battery, it's about to go off, I'll speak to you in the morning. That's kind of what that means. And I was like, right, okay. And then I think I'd gone back on my phone like a few hours later or whatever, and it was like online. So you could see the person was online, although 2 hours ago they said no, they had no battery. And then this became a little bit of a thing within relationship. I don't really know what happened. I feel like it was basically just a thing to just stop me from messaging. But there's no blame attributed to that person. I'm just giving some examples of, and then of how these things are reinforced. Because then you go, oh, okay, so my sister, like my thoughts that I'm going to be abandoned, that is true because there wasn't a 1% battery. So what is the truth? And then you then end up like bringing these into other relationships and stuff. There are lots more examples from my own life prior to that, that have led to like this kind of feeling. So it's not to pick any one example out or anything like that. So I want to talk about how it feels in the moment, and I'm sure it's already been called this, but I'm calling it the anxious spiral. And in that moment, how it feels, and it can be strangely addictive when you're in that mode of like wondering, like, oh, is she going to message me back? Like, what's going on? Like, I haven't heard from her all day. Am I going to be abandoned? I'm just like, and then this kind of like this spiral. And what no one talks about is that is quite rushy and a bit of it's like a fever dream. And when you're in it, it can just feel like your focus of your vision kind of narrows, and it's like, I've spoken about this before. This Christopher Wallace's insight. There's an episode called "Achieving Your Masculine Destiny," and he talks about like a addiction to alcohol or drugs is addiction to like a fear state. I think it was mainly alcohol, because when you have alcohol, it kind of puts you in this, and it's quite rushy. There's like adrenaline goes with it, and the exact same thing is happening here. So it's weird how we get like addicted to these negative feelings. And I think it's, for me, I think it's like the slot machine of relationships, or the slot machine of attachment style, whereby you kind of like, like the way that dopamine works is like, if I think about a line of cocaine on the table, beep, 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 a little reward center like lights up. So like you anticipate, you actually get the thing before the thing. That's what dopamine does to motivate you to do a thing. But because it's like this weird predictive mechanism, whereby, let's say I'm in this like stress response, I put my phone away, like, she's not going to message back, she's just busy. And then I go, what if she's messaged back? Your brain is then predicting and sending you a little hit of dopamine before you've touched the fucking phone to be like, I think she's messaged you back. What if she has? That would be nice. And then you're already in that mode. You've spent those dopamine pennies. You then open it up. There's no message. Now you're in the dopamine trough. So you go down further. And this is how we end up in this spiral. So if you find yourself in an anxious attachment spiral, I believe there are different things that you can deploy. But honestly, I think the best thing is to get some space. Put your phone away, turn your phone off, give your phone to a friend. If you're not with a friend, put it in your car boot, go to the gym, get some space. Because when you're in that moment, you are like literally a crazy person. So you need to think of it a little bit like you are drunk with all of these chemicals floating around your body, and then you are not able to see anything other than like the immediate gratification. We talk about this narrow focus again. So what you need to do is be able to expand that feeling. It's a good thing. It's a good skill to be able to recognize what's going on with your peripheral vision. So if I sit here now, I'm kind of like, mine's like quite wide because I'm in like quite a good like open mood, but it's a little bit narrow because I've got all these lights on me and I'm on camera, and so I've got like a little bit of both going on. Like I'm okay. Right after I do like a bout of meditation, my peripheral vision will feel very wide. I'm in like this beautiful like receiving calm mode, which is the exact opposite to the fear state. So you need to get yourself in this expansive mode. So that could be through meditation, that could be talking to someone, that could be going to the gym, that could be going out for a run. You might need 4 hours away from the phone in that instance. Now, if this is happening at 11 o'clock at night, then you're just going to have to find a way to put that phone away, like calm yourself, maybe put a film on or something, or try and call someone if you can, or just go to bed. Like, because what you also need to recognize is you might think you might not be able to sleep, but you know what? Like, I know that feeling is fucking exhausting. It's really tiring. So you can end up like almost like, like a baby that cries themselves to sleep. That's fucking sad. But yeah, it's tiring. Go to bed. Just try and get some real distance from the situation, because if you're going to be constantly checking your phone and stuff, not good. No, not good. We will talk about some actual deployable strategies later in the conversation, but the thing that I'm wanting people to take home from this, including myself, is mainly like you can deploy so many strategies until it gets to a point where you go, are my needs simply not being met? So this is where we talk about balance. Understanding, like, if you're not putting any effort in and you're just like flying off the handle, oh, she's not messaged me back, he's not messaged me back, then you don't really have a decent standing to be able to be like, hey, my needs aren't being met. Whereas if you've, let's say you've been to therapy, you do journaling, you do meditation, you look after your body, all these things, you've tried to enact those some of these strategies, whether it's like how would secure Jason respond to this scenario? Okay, how would secure? Well, I suppose secure Jason might think, well, this person's having a great time, she loves me, da 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 da. Okay. Or looking at with, I realize I'm just going into these strategies now, or looking at with compassion. Like, how can I be compassionate, taking myself out of the situation and go, actually, I want to love that person, so I want them to have a wonderful night and not have to worry about messaging me. So there's another one which I've used. But if you're like spending all of your evening not able to focus on what you're doing, whether you're watching the telly, playing on your Nintendo, or whatever it is, and you're constantly just in this like preoccupied, highly stressed state, and you're like deploying all these coping mechanisms, and it's still not working, then maybe you need to have a conversation with your partner and say, hey, like, I'm trying really hard. I realize this is mainly a me thing, but it would really help me if maybe you checked in with me like at one point in the night, or I'm just not feeling that loved at the moment. Like, I'm sorry that if that makes me needy. And in that situation, like, if they can't see that you're doing all of these things and just wanting to be the best partner possible, but unfortunately for you, you've been cursed with this insecure attachment style, which makes you feel so fucking scared. It's horrible. Like, honestly, if you've not experienced it before, it is really, really scary and does feel, yeah, it's horrific. So, like, if they can't understand that, then, and they can't understand that, like, the love that you've got to offer, then I'm sorry, but you're not compatible. Like, this is what I'm starting to realize is that compatibility probably comes down to your attachment styles and how they literally like fit in together. And the like, you might be a little bit avoidant versus like a little bit anxious or whatever, or they might be secure, whatever. Like, that like makeup of personality traits and attachment style like need to exist in this like wider thing. So yeah, want to talk a little bit about avoidant attachment, which is like, don't come near me, you can't hurt me, I'll just shut off. And because anxious and avoidant do tend to share a little bit, you might like jump up, like cross over into one a little bit. Like, I once said that I thought that I was anxious working towards that. I thought that I was secure, but basically my secure was just avoidant attachment in drag. And I think that is really true. I do actually think anxious and avoidance do tend to bounce back and forth quite a lot. So how can we act without fear and not become avoidant within relationships? So let's say you are in a relationship, you are a bit of an anxious attachment person, and you're feeling like you like want to reach out to this person, but you don't want to feel like you're being needy or over the top. So you might like, this balance thing's difficult. So you might just put your phone away, put it in the boot of your car, like not getting go away for like 4 hours or whatever. That's like during the like more coping towards the spiral. But if you're like, well, how would I act without fear? Do I want to like show this person love? Like, because you've got to be careful that, because of like this uneasy attachment style that we have, that we don't just not reach out to the person, or not tell the person that we love them, or not tell the person that we're thinking about them because we don't want to be rejected. And then you start going into this avoidant thing. So I think like a true, as a man, like a true masculine act is to be like, I'm acting without fear, and I don't care if this tips the scales of me looking like the more interested party or more needy party. I'm going to, they say love is a verb. I'm going to show acts of love. I'm going to love you by like saying, hey, just let you know I'm thinking about you. Hey, I miss you, or looking forward to seeing you, or whatever. Even if that person like might not be like mega like maybe they feel a bit resistant to receiving that, but I don't think that you should shut off the person that you are. And again, if that's too much for them, then they're not for you. Like, you need to find someone who is able to receive the amount of love that you can give. Now, let's have some compassion towards, let's say in that example, the person who feels uncomfortable receiving that amount of love. Because I have definitely fallen in on that side of the fence as well. Maybe when I've been in a relationship where the balance is tipped the other way, and the other person is maybe shown a little bit more towards me. And I've often, it's like this classic thing, isn't it, where they go, oh well, she showed loads of interest in me, so it was too easy. Like, it wasn't as much of a roast. I like a bit of a challenge. Like, this is something we hear a lot. And I had this crazy insight earlier. I was sat doing my meditation. So I went out. By the way, side note, I'll do a meditation and I have my voice recorder going, so if anything comes into my head. I was closing my eyes and I was like, fucking hell. And it just like hit me. Now, again, maybe you've already absorbed this through your own work, but this is something that I realized in being compassionate towards the avoidant party. Why would, like, it seems that anxiously attached can become avoidant, like once a certain level of security is reached within the relationship. Like, why is that? And I think it's because it is just unfamiliar to us. And then, like, the question is, why would it be evolutionarily adaptive to be avoidant around unfamiliarity? And if we go back to the like the example in the experiment, if your primary caregiver is like inconsistent or maybe distant, then you if someone is then all of a sudden available to you and caring and loving and stuff, that doesn't feel like your primary caregiver. That feels like a fucking stranger. So you're just not familiar with it, and so evolutionarily you go, that's not my caregiver, fuck off. Where's my caregiver? Like, where's the avoidant fucking rushy version? Like, that's the one I want, because that's how it feels. That's how it feels, like heavy, right? So So we have to like hold all these things together. Like Dr. Joey Weber would talk about, like you have to sit in the equanimity of it all, like, and hold all these things, and try and discern like properly without like too much judgment. Like the difference between judgment and discernment, I theorized during our chat, was like judgment has like a bit of emotionality. Discernment is more intuition. Good luck trying to figure out the difference between them. So what are we saying here? I think both parties need to have an understanding of one another's attachment styles, and it all comes down to communication at the end of the day. I often thought that, like anxious attachment and avoidance, by the way, often go together, and you often see fireworks because the anxious are like being attracted to like the avoidant like partner, and then I'm not too sure about the avoidant with the anxious, because maybe the avoidant don't know, yeah, I don't know, but I guess they'll probably feel lots of love from the anxiously attached. But I've often wondered about, let's say, like anxious and anxious rather than anxious and secure. Like, could anxious and anxious be like good together because they understand how it feels? I do believe potentially, provided one doesn't cross over into the unavoidant side of things, which is pretty common. I was listening to a podcast with Alex Hormozy on Chris Williamson's podcast yesterday, and he was talking about how his wife Layla, he was saying that she responded very well to feedback. Now, I must admit, I was a little bit like hearing this because it sounded a bit controlly, but basically, I think something along the lines of early days, she called him stupid. And he said, I don't like it when you do that. Please don't do that. And then she never did it again. And they've got this beautiful marriage and amazing bond by the sounds of things. And they were talking about how, what is the cost of behavior change? So, what does it cost for Layla to not call Alex stupid? Costs nothing. So I guess that's not going to be controlling behavior. It's just, I don't like that. I'd appreciate if you wouldn't do that. And then, but if you're asking for something that is like, that does have a cost to it, then that's totally different. And I suppose, and this is where I came up with this heart rate zones analogy, a training analogy. We like it. So heart rate zones analogy for reciprocal effort. So if you're not familiar, our heart rates beat different rates when we're in exercise, and then we talk a lot about zone 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And 5 is basically just like all out. Zone 1 is essentially like a fast walk. And then everything else is in between. High rocks, to give you an example, while running high rocks, I will sit at around high zone 3 to zone 4, something like that. So it's, just over an hour of effort. You're not going to be in zone 5 for that full time. Like, that's too much, you'll just blow up. But I just like sit below, so you're pushing it hard, but like not completely redlining. So that's heart rate zones. If you imagine you're doing a high rocks doubles, and you have you and your partner, doesn't matter whether it's same sex, mixed doubles, whatever, but you're both doing this thing together. You're both running, you're both lifting stuff, you're both pushing stuff. And what you're trying to do in that situation is to make sure that, let's say, the fitter person that they're working as hard as you are, because if you're not as fit as the other person, your heart rate might spike way sooner on a certain exercise than the other person. And that's when they should take over and share some of that burden. Or if they're a faster runner, then they should start on the ski erg or the burpees first, because you're going to be absolutely fucked. So during a high rocks doubles, you are trying to balance this perceived effort and these heart rate zones so that one person isn't working too hard. So back to attachment styles. If you're in a situation whereby girl is out on a night out with friends, guy is at home, bored, feeling anxious attachment. So straight away, when we look at like heart rate zones in that case, it's not a heart rate zone, but I'm talking about this as a good analogy for like effort and feeling like, oh, this is a bit minging. I don't know if I can stay in this for much longer. So if that person is on their night out, they're just in like zone one, just like having a great time. Meanwhile, bloke at home, and this could be like other way around as well. Bloke at home is like, oh, maybe start to get into zone two. Maybe I've just had my dinner. That the dopamine from like me having my dinner is like worn off. Now I'm starting to think, oh, she hasn't messaged me, so I'm starting to creep into like zone three. And it's like, okay, so this is kind of difficult. It's like I couldn't do this. I could hold this for a little while, but I couldn't do this all fucking night because I would drive myself crazy. So what I'm going to do is I'm maybe going to deploy one of these strategies. Like, okay, let's think about a compassionate response. I want this person to have a good time. I love this person. Okay, might bring it down. Might bring it back down to zone two. Might bring it back to zone one. That might work. Maybe it flares up again. So then maybe you deploy another thing, which is how would secure Jason respond? Okay, well, how would secure Jason respond? Okay, we brought it back down. We brought the heart rate zone back down. Meanwhile, person who's on night out is still just there, like chilling. Probably not even in zone one, having a great time. And then like a few hours go by, and then let's say guy at home's heart rate starts going up again, and it's just like fucking hell. Like all these strategies, they're starting to wear off. Like I've done this like a few times now, but I'm kind of like I'm feeling anxious. I'm tired. Like I'm really exhausted from feeling this way. I've got this feeling in my stomach. It's not nice. It would be really nice if that person would just check in with me, but I don't want to be controlling. So then I think if we look at that, and if we looked at a heart rate graph of that period, this other partner has had to work so much harder and had a really shit time while the other person has been chilling out. So that's not to like, it's not apportioning any blame, but if we're trying to like, you know me, like I like to try and quantify stuff to really like figure out and get like a wider picture. Well, that person, how much would it cost that person how much would it cost the person on the night out to message saying, just let you know I'm thinking of you, can't wait to see you later? Like, would that put them into zone one, zone two? I mean, I suppose a little bit of effort, like, you know, out with the girls or whatever. Hey, I just need to message my controlling boyfriend. Maybe a little bit, like, and then, but then the effect on like the guy who sat at home was like, oh, fucking hell, like that makes me feel amazing, like that makes me feel loved, like have a great night, can't wait to see you later. How nice is that? How nice does that feel? I'm like literally self-soothing myself now. This isn't necessarily an example, by the way, of anything that's happened to me. It's just I'm playing it out in my head. So yeah, so what is the effort level? And then don't get me wrong, like that could like flip around again, and then the guy goes on a night out, and then it might go around the other way. So what do we do in those situations? Do we go, well, you're just going to suffer, let's both suffer when we're on nights out, so I won't text you, you won't text me, and we'll both have the same level of heart rate effort? Or both of us could just be like, why don't we text each other like halfway through the night, just as a nice little like thing. And really, like, it doesn't fucking really matter anyways. Like, if you think about it, let's say we're worried that someone's going to cheat on us. Like, does it really even mean anything? Like, you could be getting off with some guy in a toilet, or he could be getting off with a girl and just like messaging, "Hey, I love you." But that is psychopathic behavior. So don't get into a relationship with a fucking psycho. Yeah, massive red flag. Those people are cunts. So, I hope that one's helpful. So yeah, reciprocal effort. Yeah, and also just in general, just like looking at the balance of the relationship, not necessarily just in that night out, but does this one person go to therapy? Does this one person do journal? Does this other person who's saying, "Oh, it's all about you and your childhood trauma," do they how do they deal with their problems? Do they go to therapy? Do they do they journal, or do they like take alcohol and drugs and things like that? So that's these things that come into it as a whole picture, and looking at this reciprocal effort and stuff in a relationship. I would like to talk a little bit about the societal considerations around this particular type of scenario. We talk about the jealous prick thing, and I was I remember hearing someone when I was explaining like how I felt around this, and we talk about like my conversation with on Jessica De Silva's podcast, and it's very rare for men to talk about this. And someone said to me like, you do realize like all guys go through that, they just don't say anything. I'm like, oh right, okay. I just like, oh, like, and this person was a little bit older, and they said to me, they were just like, yeah, we just don't talk. We just didn't talk about it. And this person wasn't necessarily saying it was a good or a bad thing, but it was like, huh, that's interesting. And then we hear about men need to talk, and what does that even mean? Oh, it's okay to talk. Hashtag it's okay to talk. What the fuck does that mean? Does anyone even know what that means? Really? Or is it just like a thing, a virtue signal, like, oh yeah, we all care about men? Or is like a big part of men's struggle, could this be related? Because if someone wants to kill themselves or is feeling depressed or whatever, it's probably because they don't feel loved. So if you're in a situation in where they're feeling anxious that they might be abandoned or whatever, they feel like they're not loved, then could that be part of this wider conversation around men's mental health? So I think the tension between this, like, expressing our truth and our needs, and not being controlling, is something we need to be very careful with as men. Very careful, because it can spill over into controlling behavior. Oh, you're not going out tonight and stuff like that. Like, I'm never saying that like blokes should turn around and say, oh, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. But what they can do is say, well, if you are going to do this, I would appreciate if you maybe send me a message or whatever. Like, that's not controlling. That's just expressing your needs in a pragmatic manner. And it's not to be like, oh, I'm going to leave you if you don't do this, this, and that. But I guess there's a conversation to be had there on trying to balance these things. Again, I wish I could give like a cookie cutter answer and like, just do this. But these things are messy, and this is why life is really fucking hard. And we need to find the answers ourselves, and we're all different, and we'll come to our own like different conclusions. But I do really think, I don't think those two things are unrelated. Like, we need to talk. And then also, because if you tell men that they can't talk about their anxious attachment style, what does that also tell them? That means when you are unhappy or when you are feeling something deep inside yourself that you're unsatisfied with, you will shut down, you won't tell anyone. So that becomes a real problem. So when a man feels depressed or whatever, they don't say anything, then they go and fucking kill themselves. So as you can tell, I'm quite passionate about this, and I think that more blokes should talk, but just don't be a fucking dick. Like, go to therapy, read some like self-help books, like start journaling, make yourself a really fucking good man, and then also express when you're upset about something in a careful, considered manner, and don't be controlling. There you go. I mean, we're like, most of my audience tends to be women, so it's just you listening to me fucking rambling on about my anxious attachment style. So, I'm going to wrap this up shortly. I've got a few more things I want to consider. So now we're really getting to the heart of why I wanted to talk about this. And this is my realization. It is that you need to love your attachment style as part of yourself. I used to think that we constantly need to be working towards secure, and that's true to an extent. But what if you can never get there? Like, what if you can never get to secure? You constantly going to berate yourself, like for having something wrong with you, for having a inconsistent caregiver, for having the wrong genes. Like, well, that's not very helpful, is it? So when we're talking about self-love, we need to do our best to try and not let our attachment styles like run amok, but also be compassionate and recognize it as part of ourselves. Like, this is what I realized yesterday. If I didn't have a anxious attachment style, I would probably be less loving, less sensitive, less reflective, maybe less creative. I wouldn't be Jason. So it's like, we must be careful on trying to get rid of things that make us us. Like, it's what makes you you, and you just need to view it with compassion. You know, just like other parts of your personality, like ADHD, autism, dyslexia, like we're already like, thankfully society is now looking at these things as, although they are classed as learning disabilities, they are actually strengths in some way or form. It's beautiful in which our brains are like diverse, in which we and how we like decode our outer and inner experience, and that's like cool as fuck. Like, it's now quite cool to be neurodivergent. How many people have you seen the bios that say they're fucking neurospicy? Different issue, a little bit cringe, but but like, it's been celebrated now. So like, why can't we celebrate our attachment style? Like, I'm a little bit anxious, but guess what? I'm fucking like, I'm a really good lover. Like, I'm really attentive. I'm very sensitive to like what's going on in the room. Or if you're avoidant, let's say you're avoidant, like, but yeah, I'm like a really good boss. Like, I'm really good. I'm cutthroat. I can just do decision making. I'm a good business owner, whatever it may be. So we should celebrate these differences. In the short term, sometimes it's hard, but long term, we can see like these amazing like advantages that it gives us over other people. So we should celebrate that. And yeah, I mean, how many times people tell me that I'm an overthinker? You think too much. By the way, massively triggering for me. If anyone like, I get it quite a lot. Oh, do you think too much? And I'm like, fuck off. Fuck you. Like, stop telling me I think too much. I want to think. I want to think. It's who I am. And it's like, if I wasn't an overthinker, I wouldn't record this episode. And my hope is that someone out there wherever they are in the world, if one person is going through the struggles of having an anxious attachment style, maybe they're spiraling, maybe their partner is right now on a night out and they just don't know what to do and they're having a horrible time. Maybe they find this episode and it makes them feel like they're seen for a little moment in time. That's awesome. Like, I would love that. And if that's you, if you've come across this, I would love to hear from you. And it's like, if I wasn't an overthinker, if I didn't have an anxious attachment style, I wouldn't make this content. So it feels like a real positive sum to me to be able to like talk about this stuff. And yeah, I definitely feel better about it. Going through this and trying to offer a differing perspective on the current conversation. At least I feel like it's different. I've not heard people talk about it a lot. Like, remember if you ever had a rescue dog? I had a rescue dog. And they were obviously like a little bit traumatized. And they can really maybe fly off the handle a little bit. And like maybe sometimes they bite someone or whatever. I'm not saying that people with anxious attachment styles bite people, but I'm talking more about like trauma in general. But how loving are they? Like if and then let's look at cats. So people like talk about like cats and they say like cats are kind of like most cats are like kind of like avoidant attachment. Like, oh fucking I don't need you. Or like that mega secure. I don't need you. And like a lot of people say that from with cats, they're like cool because they can look after themselves or whatever, but they don't get the same love. Not like, you know, the beautiful like little rescue Labrador that just wants to be loved and he's anxious when you leave and he's like this fucking dog next door is always barking. I could just hear him then. Woof, love me. But like, and he does my fucking head in. It's always like, but then when I call knocks next door and get my parcels from them, like he's always like, hey, look at this fucking toy I've got, and he's like dead loving and lovely, and like, isn't that nice? So anxious attachments of the world, you're just the fucking rescue dogs, and I love you too. Tools, some tools to think about in the moment, just a recap, is compassion. How can we view it with compassion? Like, if you love that person, you want them to be happy and have a good time, whatever it is they're doing. Benefit of the doubt, like give them benefit of the doubt. Like, how could we look at these things like, you know, let's talk about the 1% battery, 1% bibs. Like maybe she got a charger on the night out or something. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Like that might have been the case. Another one, 1,000-foot view. So think about the situation you're in now and then zoom out. So try and picture yourself. Let's say you're sat at home. Let's say they're up the road at the pub or whatever. Zoom out and literally kind of try and view it like from outer space. It's amazing how you feel when you get some distance on something, and some literal kind of like feeling of distance is helpful. And you go, we're just like little fucking ants running around. Like, it doesn't really matter, does it? And then you have, you know, meditation, call a friend. You know, if you have a therapist on hand, like maybe message your therapist, something like that. Another one, which is a little bit more scary, but it is useful, is it's probably like more of a stoic exercise, is you welcome the pain, you welcome the abandonment, you welcome the betrayal. Search for Jessie Baines. She was on the podcast and she said this thing about like, if you want to welcome trust, you need to welcome betrayal. And it's like this duality of life where you can't have one thing without the other. Trust only exists because there is betrayal. So it's like you can't have one without the other. Kind of hard to wrap your head around. But when you think about it, there's no such thing as hot without cold. So if you actually imagine, well, what is the worst that would happen? Like, okay, so this person goes out, they cheat on me, whatever. Will I be okay? Yeah. Have you been okay all the way up to now? Yeah. Like, will life go on? Yeah. Does that person deserve you? No. So it's like the cunt filter. Like, all right, they were a cunt. They cheat on me. And even then, like, and what if you never even knew? Like, does it really matter? Suppose not. Doesn't really matter, does it? Like, unless like they contracted like fucking VD and then gave you a sexually transmitted disease or something. But yeah, again, I don't know. I don't know about that. Like, if that happens to you, yeah, sorry, double cunt. Yeah, they're a double cunt. And then just what zone are you in? So in that moment, what zone am I in? How many hurdles have I gone? How many times have I tried to deploy a thing? Like, I remember Huberman talked about this. Andrew Huberman talked about this, about like getting in the cold plunge, and like how many walls have you had to get over? Like they talk about the pain wall and stuff in running and stuff. Like, how many walls do you have to get over? So you might like, fucking hell, I can't get in the cold water. That's one wall. You get into it. Okay, I'm in there. It starts to feel really cold. Oh my god! Like, okay, let's get over that. Two walls, and then you sit there. You're probably at peace for a bit, and then maybe the third wall comes. You get over the third wall, then you get out. So I went through three walls. You could do the same with these tools. So you're triggered by a situation. Let's deploy one tool. Okay, I feel a bit better. If it comes up again, let's deploy another tool. Benefit the doubt. 1,000-foot view. Call a friend, whatever it is. That might be enough, right? So you might do that. You might feel fucking great. They come on from your night out. You have a great time. Great to see you. You have amazing sex. Life is good. I hope that happens for you. Option three, or let's say it doesn't happen, and then we go, okay, deploy three. I'll do some journaling. Do that, and then it's still there, and you're still in like this zone 3, zone 4, zone 5, whatever. Like, your nervous system is just like fucked. Then make note of that. Have a conversation with your partner. You know, you were out the other night, or I keep using this as an example. That obviously other examples of anxious attachment style, but it's just the easiest one to think about. Like, I had a really difficult time. I tried all these things. I've listened to Jason's podcast. I've deployed all these different strategies. I've paid for a therapist. I've got a fucking journal with like a snazzy binder, and meanwhile, I feel like hell. And it's not like, and as well, like the other partner, like if they're not into that, that's also fine. Like, they can go like, you know what, it's not for me. Like, I want to go out with the girls. I don't want to have to message her. Like, go away, strange fucking rescue dog guy. That's also fine. So yeah. All right, I'm going to close up. I hope this has been helpful. Please let me know. I would love to hear from you, genuinely, like about your attachment struggles, or like if this was at all helpful. Was this a different perspective? If so, like, share it with someone. That would be great. And yeah, if you haven't already, you know all the stuff. Subscribe. If you're on Spotify, leave me a review. And yeah, drop into my Instagram and just say hello. I'm not always the best at responding, but I do like to know if I've made a change in someone's day. So remember to keep this on hand. If you are someone who experiences these struggles, I will actually probably have it on hand for myself to be able to reference back to help me. And yeah, thank you for listening. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.